Hey, welcome everyone and Happy New Year! Let's start off this year the right way by breaking down the legendary Chapter 1000 and all the references to the Japanese language in it. Let's get started! The first thing to mention before we even dive into the chapter is the chapter's title itself, because at first glance the title Straw Hat Luffy seems like quite a fitting but generic title, but that's not really the true full title of the chapter. Because you see, as you might have heard, the covers of Chapter 999 and Chapter 1000 can both be combined together. Both of these half covers are included as posters within the respective Shonen Jump issues, and merging them together gives this one mega cover that pays homage to the cover of Chapter 100. So, if the covers are combinable, then that could mean that the titles are combinable as well. So, if we merge the titles of both Chapter 999 and Chapter 1000, we get The Sake I Brewed While Waiting for You, Straw Hat Luffy. As a reminder, this is Yamato speaking in this title as indicated by the use of the kimi pronoun in Japanese, which is the pronoun that Yamato always uses, so this is Yamato saying he's been brewing some sake to share with Luffy, whom he has been waiting for all this time. In fact, I already argued this in my previous couple of videos, and it seems I was completely right, because the one that Yamato had been waiting for all this time to exchange sake was not Ace, but Luffy. When Sicilian opens the path to the top, Luffy calls him Shishimamushi. This is a running joke because he previously called Pecoms Pekomamushi based on Nekomamushi's name. Nekomamushi means cat viper, and Pecoms derives from Peko Peko, a Japanese expression which means to be hungry, so Luffy called him Pekomamushi or hungry viper. Sicilian is a pun on the name Sicilian, since shishi in Japanese means lion, and lion from Sicilian sounds a bit like lion as well. However, Luffy calls him Shishimamushi or lion viper. When Marco throws Zoro to the top of the dome, he says, "Hang on with that Don!" This Don is the same expression that Tom always used, to do things with a Don. Now granted, to do something with a Don is a real expression from real-life Japanese. Some people think this is an expression that Oda came up with, but it's not really the case. It is something that is used, it's just that Tom really liked using it. So it doesn't mean necessarily that Marco here is necessarily, referencing something that Tom said or got it from Tom, but I still thought it was worth pointing out, especially with what I mentioned last week, that when elongated, the Don sound is spelled out the same way that Dawn is spelled in Japanese. Yamato quotes Zoden, claiming that the leading players of the next stage, Zoden put it, the new generation, which in this case is confirmed to be the worst generation, would make their way into the new world. This is referring to a scene in Chapter 972 where Oden told Toki the exact same thing, that a new generation would make their way into the new world. What's interesting is that these leading players at the next stage that Oden referred to, which in this case is a kabuki term, reference to the kabuki play setting of the Wano arc, is the same exact term that was used to refer to the ones that would inherit Oden's dream, his legend. After his death, it was stated that, and so the curtain lowered on one legend, to be inherited by the leading players of the next stage. This inherited is the same as in inherited will, so Yamato is essentially saying that the worst generation is inheriting and carrying out Oden's will, Oden's dream, to open up Wano's borders by defeating the Yonko Kaido, something that is necessary to pave the path for the dawn. Which is fitting, because if you recall, in Chapter 901, Morgans mentioned that the King of the Pirates would be a member of the worst generation, and Yamato's claim here seems to indicate that yes, that will probably indeed be the case. Oh, and by the way, a small detail I missed last chapter but I wanted to mention was that the symbol found on Yamato's outfit during the flashback, which is different from his current symbol, is actually meant to just be a skewer of Oden. Kinemon asks Luffy to carry the Wano country on his back. This is a reference to two things. For one, it's a symbolic reference to how Oden was carrying the Wano country on his back, both symbolically and quite literally, as seen when he carried his vassals, the future of the country, on his back in a boiling pot. However, it's also likely a reference to the claim that Whitebeard made in his final speech, that someday one who will carry everything that history have sailed hundreds of years on their back will appear. Whitebeard here was specifically referring to the same person that Oden was likely referring to, this Joy Boy that would come to Wano, so it definitely seems like this is all connected. Also, when Luffy replies to Kinemon with "damn right I will," or "atarimai daro" in Japanese, it's incredibly similar in wording to the same thing he said to Nami when she asked for help as well during the Arlong Park. When Kaido attacks Luffy, causing a shockwave, one of the Beast Pirates reacting has the writing "to Ita" written on his jacket. This is a play on words because "to" can be read as "tsu" in Japanese, making this "tsuita," which means "here it comes," like referring to either Kaido's attack or Luffy's attack coming. Among his memories, Luffy has a memory of Momo, who told him that he wanted to bring Kaido down. When Luffy throws Kaido to the ground at the end of this chapter, Big Mom exclaims, "How could you getting hit bring you down?" This "bring you down" is the same wording that Momonosuke used back then, showing how Luffy is carrying out Momo's wish. Speaking of which, Luffy's attack is called the Red Rock. No, not rock, as in stone, but rock, as in the legendary bird. The rock is a mythological creature that basically looks like a big hawk, so a bigger red hawk using gear third, being a red rock, makes perfect sense. Furthermore, the kanji reading for the original Red Hawk is Fire Fist Pistol, a combination between Ace's Fire Fist and Luffy's Gomu Gomu no Pistol. An obvious tribute to Ace's iconic attack, since Luffy is inheriting Ace's will and hitting Kaido in his place. The kanji for Red Rock simply adds a kanji in front of Red Hawk's reading, making it Hellfire Fist Pistol, which is quite fitting. And it's even more fitting that this is basically an upgraded form of Gomu Gomu no Pistol mixed in with Ace's attack, since Gomu Gomu no Pistol was the very first attack that Luffy used at the very first chapter of One Piece, with both of these chapters ending with Luffy defeating a strong opponent with his attack. And, well, if you wanna get technical, both of them being a fish. As for the final detail, it's easy to miss, especially if you read the English localization, which often meets these things, but every chapter of One Piece comes with a small blurb written at the end to hype up the ending of the chapter. In this case, the blurb reads, "To the pinnacle of the pirate world." This is a reference to what Ace said to Luffy in Alabasta, telling him that next time we meet, we'll be at the pinnacle of the pirate world. This makes reference to that, showing that Luffy, and Ace, who lives on within him through inherited will, are heading to the pinnacle of the pirate world. Somewhere either beyond the Yonko, somewhere where Luffy can be Pirate King. Now that's all the general basic references in this chapter. There are so many more things to talk about this chapter, more than I already talked about, especially when it comes to Luffy's goal at the end of his dream. And that's something I already talked about in depth on my analysis on my site, but if I want to cover it here as a video, then I'm gonna have to do it as a separate video because there is a lot to go over. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful 2021 and that you can join me on the journey of reading One Piece across this year. Thanks for watching.